Hi, good morning. Affnan from Affnan Aquaponics. Today, 29 of October 2020. I just want to give a brief update on what's happening on my aquaponics system so far. You can see my aquaponics set is the same from a few months ago that I've changed the system or make it bigger a bit. And today probably I will just run through what's happening so far, and if anyone want to practice aquaponics, they can somehow use this as one of the example that of a system that is as I can say is very successful in a small scale and very easy to maintain, and also which is cheap to produce. Right, let's go and have a look. First, let's take a look at the tilapia fish. This tilapia fish, some are from the earlier stock and some the one that I bred in-house. They have been doing very well. There's no sign of any disease or anything. I did harvest a few for my own usage, especially now during this period of lockdown. And the tilapia water, as you can see, is quite clear. The main mistake that most people do is overfeeding of this tilapia fish. Then the water will start to get cloudy and it's quite difficult. It's okay to limit their feed because tilapia will eat non-stop. This is the left tank, and the right tank, which is the round one, the feeder tank. I still put a few tilapia in here so that they can breed. There's nothing much happening. I redo and repick few other tilapia and put it in here. The goldfish that was in here, I put them with the lampam fish. Then there's a tank on the right. You can hardly see any fish. You can see the goldfish that I moved from the center tank, but maybe you can see silhouette of lampam. I put in about 60 lampam in here, and as I mentioned, lampam is one of the best fish to use in aquaponics. It will give a lot of nutrient for the plant. It is very slow growth. It eats very much less. It doesn't produce much waste as tilapia, but it gives a lot of nutrient to the plants. So lampam is, personally, I highly recommend lampam to be used as a fish in aquaponics. But lampam is probably a bit difficult to grow due to they require a very clean water environment. This one fish which is very valuable to aquaponics. Other than that, let's look at the plants. The plants that I've been growing is from the previous, those Chinese celery, the one that I grow from market bought plants. I managed to grow 3 pots. 3 pots is more than enough for a small household like mine. And because to sow celery is very difficult, their seed is very small. So I would recommend for celery for Malaysia or Southeast Asia that you want to practice aquaponics. Buy few celery from the market, and then replant them into pots. And even though it's only about 50% survival rate, is good. In aquaponic, I highly recommend for celery that you practice double potting if you do not have a high enough pots, because celery require dry zone at its crown. If it's too submerged in water, initially during the initial planting, you may have root rot, and that's where your celery plant will never survive. So I highly recommend double potting, or using a pot which is very tall, so that you can have a lot of dry zone. That is a celery for planting in aquaponics. Other than that, the one at the back, as you can see, the turmerics, because I'm a Malaysian. Malaysian use a lot of turmeric leaf for planting. So this is one of the plants that for us Malaysian will use daily. So that's the reason why I always plant turmeric, because we want to use the leaf. The one at the back, Spanish Brazilian spinach. This is good to give you ample supply of vegetable all the time. Then on the side you have, this one is Vietnamese coriander. So Vietnamese coriander, or is it coriander? No, sorry, it's Vietnamese basil. It's a basil plant. So well, please give a comment below. I'm already mixed up with the name of these plants, but in Malay we call it selasih, or sometimes they call it kemangi. So this is a plant which I can eat raw as a spring salad, and it's a very good plant to have, but it will grow to very big. For average household, one pot of this plant is sufficient. Like the Brazilian spinach, I would recommend about 4 to 6 pots is enough for a household. Then in the foreground, you can see the rosemary plant. I love rosemary because when I do roast chicken, I love the smell of rosemary. So I plant rosemary, and probably my last video I showed that I have harvested rosemary, and now again I let them grow. And rosemary is quite a slow growing or woody plant. Again, on rosemary, I would highly recommend double potting for aquaponics, or a pot which is very high, so that you have a high dry zone in terms of planting this rosemary plant. You can see there are a few pots which is empty in the grow bed. Reason being for the empty pots, because it's too dense, there's too many plants, it's very difficult for them to grow. That's why I have to remove some of the plants and put empty pots. So empty pots is needed because you want the surface area for the hydroton to be more, in order to convert the ammonia into nitrites, then into nitrates. So this is the first grow bed, or the grow bed on the right, fish tank that have been planted. And I'm putting scaffolding. This is what staking. I'm putting staking, trellis, depending on how you call it, and just make it ready if I need to plant a bigger plants. My intent is to move this group of plants into the left gutter beds, and the one in the right gutter beds will be transferred to here, because the one on the left gutter bed currently having bigger plants. So I'm going to replant this with bigger plants away from the doorway, basically, since the bigger plants will be obstructing my doorway. So I built the trellis, the scaffolding, or the staking. What I use, these are electrical PVC conduits, and I use plastic tips, the cling wrap tips, and just wrap it around. And this plastic PVC, one of the cheapest alternative. If you do not have any other means of material to use. You can use wood, you can use steel, you can use a lot of things as long as you can make a good staking. But I found that these plastics, the UPVC plastic they use for electrical conduit is very low cost, readily available, and it just at the right length and size. There are various sizes for me to use, so it's good for me. However, if some of you guys may have strong opinion on using plastic, you are free to use bamboos or other material which may be more more environmental friendly. However, in my case, I have not much choice. I have to use this UPVC staking plastic, but they can be reused and all the time they can be reused for a very long time. So that probably also benefit of using this material. The center sowing tray area, I'm sowing few new batch of chili plants yet to grow, and other than that I do not sow anything yet because there's no requirement, and I just putting it on hold at the moment. The water inlet, if anybody can recall, the water inlet that I did a few months back, the water valve that I did, the ball valve, that's the ball valve, the white part over there. You can see the ball valve that add water as it's deplete from the system. It's holding very well, and you can see that's the water valve. I bought it probably from China, and it is very cheap, and it saves a lot of time and hassle for me to top up water. That is one good thing that you can add to your aquaponics system. However, it depends on how is your setup. I'm putting this on the feeder tank where there's no direct return water from the grow bed. So far it's been doing its job very well. I put it away from the sun with all those things above, and so that it will not be affected by UV. It may be degraded by UV. I'm not very sure on that, but to be on the safe side, I put trays on top so that it will be protected. The grow bed on the left, on top of the tilapia fish tank, this is where I put the bigger plants like tomatoes and chili. I have removed all the tomato plants and cut them here, so I need to remove because they are getting too big, and I harvested all the tomato plants. A lot of empty pots here. What's left, majority will be the chili plants. So there's the chili plants also. I have cut a few of those chili plants have been removed because it's too much. It start to be overcrowded. So when I redo the system, I will probably limit the number of chili plants that are going to grow in this group of grow bed. So I can only recommend about 6 pot of chili in one of these 4x5 or 3x5 grow bed. Chili is doing very well. I've cut a lot and I've removed and harvested a lot, and I turn them into pickled chili because I can't really consume them all. I turn them into pickled chili, and these are the kulai variety of chili. It tastes very good, and is superb to be made into pickled chili. There's you can see there are there are ripened chilies there, and daily or once a week I will have a look and pick the ripe chili. Even though I've done that, there are few chilies which have spoiled because I have delayed in picking. The aubergines due to overcrowded in the grow bed, I only put one aubergine plants, and they are fruiting. And I'm not saying they are doing well because of the overcrowding, so they are not doing really well. But if I decide to try aubergines, it's best to have them alone, just like chili. I have to put, I cannot mix them with other plants because it will be very difficult to control the plants. This is a bird eye chilies. Sadly to say, the plant is very tall and thin because it was sheltered by the other plants, and it is forced to grow very tall, and then it become very weak. So the bird eye chili is as I've done it before, it grew very well. Unfortunately, this one, because of the sheltered by the other plant, it grew up very thin to seek for the light. If I want to redo chili again, just like any other plant, I have to make sure they can have ample sunlight without any obstruction, so that they can grow and fan out their branches early. This is Vietnamese coriander, and it's been growing and very well. This plant is, I use it as salad, and it's good. That single pot is sufficient for the whole household. Again, you can see there's a lot of empty pots because I can't just plant a lot in this small space due to overcrowding. The empty pots is best to leave it there because they will assist, or they will help in the nitrification process. Don't ever leave empty spaces. Put pots with hydroton into the system and make sure they are part of the ecosystem. Then they can produce nitrates conversion for the plants to use. That's about it on my aquaponic system. The sun is really coming up now. It's reaching noon, and for the time being, thanks for watching. I hope you like what I've presented, and anyone that want to practice aquaponics, please start something which is very simple, small. I'm very sure set up like this is very easy to make, and you can make it successful. It's a very easy system to set up. I can guarantee anyone that set up this system and follow the instruction that I've made will definitely succeed in having their aquaponic system for their own use. Right, thanks for watching. Bye.